Now let me start out with a warning that there may be some pretty major spoilers for the Acolyte ahead, so if you are someone who wants to watch it and wants to go into it completely blind with nothing potentially spoiled, you may want to skip this video. Alright, and with that said, just the other day we got a new little teaser trailer or little 30-second look at the Acolyte that was simply titled Plan, that came out here on YouTube and probably elsewhere. One that sort of had The Fugitive vibes to it. Speaking of the movie from about, 30 years ago, where Harrison Ford's character is found guilty of a crime he didn't commit of murdering his wife, and he ends up escaping and going on the run. He wants to prove his innocence, and he's pursued by a character played by Tommy Lee Jones. At one point in the film, the fugitive sort of gets, not backed into a corner, but back to the edge of a huge sort of sewer pipe that empties out at a dam. And shortly before this, he says he didn't kill his wife to Tommy Lee Jones' character, who responds by saying he doesn't care. The fugitive jumps into the water to escape, and I'm sure a lot of you already have seen this movie, or maybe just know the scene I'm talking about. And for those who maybe don't, go watch the movie. It's pretty good. And so anyway, in this new clip or teaser for the Acolyte, we see something kind of similar to that. We see what at first appears to be the character Mae, who we have been told elsewhere or before this is the kind of main character of the show. She is backed up to what seems to be the edge of a snowy cliff, and she is saying that she didn't do it, you have to believe me. Again, kind of like in The Fugitive. And what she's talking about is, murdering Jedi. That's kind of the whole premise of the show. Someone is killing Jedi, and the Jedi are, of course, looking for whoever is doing that. And have, for whatever reason, they have come to believe it is Mae, a former Jedi padawan of one of our other main characters, that being Jedi Master Soul. We've also, in other trailers and footage, we have seen Mae fighting and very much holding her own against another Jedi, that one being Jedi Master Andor, played by Carrie-Anne Moss, who you probably remember from The Matrix. The fight itself looks very Matrix-like too. We also hear in this clip what we assume is Mae being accused of being a student of the dark side. She is called an acolyte. And so anyway, again in this teaser, it is Soul that seems to have caught up with Mae, our main character, and she's trying to convince her former master that she didn't do it. There's only one problem with this though. The closed caption on the trailer said that the character's name was Osha, not Mae. It is very much implying, or flat out saying, this is not the same character we have seen in those other clips, the one fighting Jedi. And this little nugget of information, coupled with some of the leaks or rumors from several months back now about how the show was going to feature twins, that Amandla Stenberg, the actress who plays the main character, would be playing twins, and that one twin was going to be taken by the Jedi while the other was going to be left behind. Not to mention Leslie Headland herself has said recently that what inspired this series was an episode of the Clone Wars called The Wrong Jedi. And if you don't remember that episode or the name of it, it is the episode where Ahsoka is essentially framed by Barriss for a crime she didn't commit, or the whole arc is about that. This particular episode is the final episode in that arc. And so adding all of that information together has led some to believe that the big twist of the Acolyte has now been revealed or spoiled. That we simply have a sort of twin situation on our hands here, where one twin, I'm guessing the one that wasn't taken by the Jedi, and thus maybe ended up resentful and was ultimately found by the Sith perhaps, and has become the Acolyte. She is setting up the other twin. She is setting up the former Padawan twin. And that is case closed, no need to watch because we already know the big twist or how this is all going to end. However, do keep in mind that, again, the name of this little teaser was Plan, and I don't know what in the clip itself would lead it to being called that, other than, the Sith having a secret plan or something along those lines being referred to. Either way, it does make one wonder if the sort of confusion it is causing is all a part of the plan, to get people intrigued or to question what is really happening here, which may just play into an aspect of the show we will get into momentarily. Also, we already know or have been told that there will be flashbacks in this series. We've even seen them in the trailers too, like when Saul presents a lightsaber to Mae when she is very, very young, or is presenting it to young Osha, perhaps, whichever it might be, whichever twin it is. And so there's a really, really good chance that in one of these flashbacks, which will probably happen very early on in the show, maybe the first episode, maybe even how the show begins, that it'll be revealed there are twins, that no, this is not the big secret of the show, and it's actually something we know from the very start. Just like how in The Fugitive, we know the main character, Harrison Ford or Dr. Richard Kimball, he didn't kill his wife. We know he is innocent all along, and one of the interesting parts of the movie is him trying to prove his innocence while also being on the run. And though I don't think that is exactly what the plot of The Acolyte will be, I also don't think the twin thing is again going to be a secret or some sort of big reveal at the end. Like I said, I think we will know pretty early on, first episode kind of thing, that there are twins here. And so what could be happening is that perhaps the Jedi were not aware when they came for her, whichever twin they took, that there were actually two of them, that there were two Force-sensitive children in this village of what appears to be witches of some kind. Perhaps the Jedi are going to be shown taking one of the twins, because we all know the Jedi just show up and kidnap babies, right? And yes, I'm being very sarcastic. They get permission from parents. They don't just take children. But perhaps here in this series, because we know this show won't be kind to the Jedi, we have even heard that said, perhaps they are just going to show up and basically take one of the twins while the other will be kept kind of hidden from them so that they don't take both. It will then be the Jedi taking her sister that sort of motivates her to go to the dark side and to join up with or be found by the Sith and to become an acolyte. Though why she would then set up the twin becomes the question, doesn't it? Perhaps because when she goes dark side, she doesn't care anymore. I mean, that is what happens when you go dark side. You become very selfish and consumed by it, to the point where you almost become someone or something else. Or perhaps she doesn't intend for her sister to be hunted down. Perhaps she doesn't even know she left the Jedi Order. Or perhaps the taking of her sister isn't what motivates her after all. Perhaps she doesn't know, has somehow forgotten, she had a twin sister, and this is how she is going to find out about her. Something else that also has to be kept in mind here is that Leslie Headland, the showrunner, has also said she was inspired by the Kurosawa film Rashomon, a movie where a samurai is found dead and where the witnesses, when they are questioned, they all give a different version of events, though all versions are equally plausible or could have happened. And some are even sort of radically different from each other. Basically, it's a story, or makes a point about, how unreliable witnesses can be, that not only can the memory be faulty, but that there's oftentimes, if not almost always to some degree, a desire to tell your own subjective narrative, not just objective facts, when you are giving an account of something you have witnessed, especially when you have interest in whatever this event might be. This is even known as the Rashomon effect. Furthermore, it is what they did in The Last Jedi, where Kylo's version of what happened that fateful night in the hut with the lightsaber was different from Luke's version of it. That a lot comes down to point of view and what you want to believe happened. And something tells me there is going to be a lot of that in the Acolyte to give them the freedom or leeway to do pretty much whatever they want with this story, and then say it is only from a certain point of view. You can give disparaging views of the Jedi Order and then leave it up to interpretation on whether or not that is to be believed or not. Same then kind of goes for the Sith. You can paint them in a more positive or sympathetic view and then say, well, it is up to you to decide if that is how they should be viewed or not. And as I've said before, this is one of the things I kind of fear about this show. I do not want the Sith put into a positive light, if you will, and then have people left to decide whether or not they should even be considered evil or something crazy like that. Not saying that is what the show is going to do, but it does seem like it possibly could do something like that. And going along with this, it could even be that from the dark side sister or twin's perspective, especially given she will be very young at the time they come for her sister, but from her perspective, and we could be shown this perspective and not given any other context potentially, but from her perspective, it could be that the Jedi did show up and just kind of take her sister or demand her being handed over, no asking or anything like that. They just came in the night and stole her, and that's why she hates them, and that's why she falls to the dark side, again blaming the Jedi for someone falling to the dark side as if it is their fault. I have even speculated elsewhere that some of the things we have seen so far in the trailers, like when multiple Jedi encounter what appears to be a Sith who even unleashes some type of massive force wave or blast against them, that could simply be one version of events, and from the perspective of who knows who exactly. It could simply be someone who saw the fight, who had never seen Jedi before, and was blown away, no pun intended, by what he saw. He had no context for it, and then he kind of blew it out of proportion, who knows. Or it could even be told from the perspective of a Jedi padawan who felt overwhelmed by the whole experience and thus recalls the events differently than how they actually played out. And if that is the case, if that is only what the fight looks like from a certain point of view, well, part of me, I guess, would be relieved that maybe this won't break canon too badly. And another part may think it is a bit cheap, I don't know, that they're using this excuse to show things that are quote-unquote cool to get people to watch. Though, as I keep saying, I will not pass any sort of final judgment until I actually see the series, but I still do think they are kind of playing with fire here, with having the Jedi encounter Sith in some way, shape, or form, and then seemingly they forget all about it 100 years later. And so something tells me that, again, they are going to lean very, very heavily into the Rashomon effect to do all sorts of things that they otherwise couldn't do without absolutely shattering the canon, or maybe they will just shatter the canon. Again, we're going to have to wait and see on this one, and we don't have to wait long. It is now roughly 2 weeks away. Well, that's going to be all I got for you this time. Now it is your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think about all this. Did they just accidentally ruin their big twist? Or is this all a part of the plan? Also, what do you think about them using the Rashomon effect? Do you think this is clever or just a cheap way of doing things they otherwise couldn't or shouldn't do? Whatever you think about any of it, leave those comments below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.